Do you know what this is? This is the root cause of the problem that independent freight dispatchers have between truck drivers and independent freight dispatchers. I have something to share very, very, very important. The story that I have, for most of you who know me, I was a carrier and I closed that business. But when I was a carrier, my carrier side of the business, we had about 4 trucks. I was in the flatbed slash step deck market, and then we had about 4 company drivers. But then you really want to grow your business, and what's happening is that financing trucks and trailers, it's not that easy. And one of the reasons is because the trucking industry is brutally competitive, and the most part is capital intensive business. The solution then, obviously, and for carriers out there, if you really want to grow your business, I think that is the business model maybe you want to take. But then obviously there is a business model set up. But then think about this: growing the owner operator side of the business, meaning you have your MC, you have 4 company drivers, and you hiring the independent. Think about owner operators. Basically, they own the truck and trailer, but they don't have their MC number, and then they work under your MC number. Basically, they're working under your the authority. What happened was we grew that side of the business, meaning we got about 25 owner operators and 4 company trucks, meaning we had about 6 drivers, but they're team drivers, whatnot. Most, about 90%, they're 4 drivers. So then the owner operator side of the business, we got 25 owner operators. It's huge, right? And then we have to manage, and we started hiring independent freight dispatchers, in-house dispatchers. This thing, and then obviously I will just pop up this on your screen. You will see in details. There is a guy. He was an awesome guy. He was all about quantity in independent freight dispatching. Quantity meaning he was really good at finding loads, booking loads, and dispatching loads. That means finding loads for him, negotiating loads, for him, it wasn't an issue. That means when we hired this new independent freight dispatcher, but he was an independent dispatcher, then he worked for us, and then he was an in-house dispatcher here in Atlanta, Georgia. So then one of our drivers, meaning company drivers, not the owner operator side of the business, we had this company driver. He's been driving for about 4 months. He was a really awesome guy. And then in one day, I realized that he's giving up. He says, Kamal, that's it. I'm leaving. No more. I can handle it. And we will come back to this driver. But then this independent freight dispatcher, and again, I'm not here to blame drivers, independent freight dispatchers. This channel is all about educating, each other, basically, right? So this for learning ins and outs of this trucking business. So if there's a problem, so if you're a problem aware, and obviously you will look for a solution, right? So this is very important. And this guy, the dispatcher, he was really good at finding loads, but then he was missing something very, very important. And we'll go into this. I remember when he last load that he dispatched to this guy, he went to pick up just the location, and then he to the site, he was picking up the load, and he constantly battling with this dispatcher. Maybe you heard about this dispatchers and truck drivers. Truck drivers and the truck dispatchers, they hate each other. I think there is a hype going on out there. Drivers will say, well, we hate dispatchers, maybe independent freight dispatchers, but dispatchers generally speaking, dispatchers. But then dispatcher will say, we hate drivers. But think about, if you just, take this independent freight dispatchers, if you just take this independent freight dispatcher and look at them, most of the independent freight dispatchers, they're really good at what they do. But obviously we give some room for people out there that may be fairly new, but maybe they lack of skills. They don't know how to communicate with brokers, and they maybe mess up things. And because of that, and we have this hype. Let's come back to drivers. Drivers out there, yes, we admire you. Meaning carriers, they owe maybe everything to you. This is how you guys think. But then just think about, not all drivers created equally, right? There are a lot of good drivers out there. I had a lot of friends, meaning they have, you know, a lot of trucks, and then they have drivers. And I know that, my friends, they have drivers that they driven millions of miles, no accidents, clear record. They're awesome drivers out there, owner operators who own truck and trailer, meaning their equipment, and then they drive themselves, meaning we call them drivers as well. And then we also have company drivers. But not everybody, meaning these drivers out there, they all quote unquote awesome drivers, good drivers out there. I had owner operators. Think about 25 owner operators and 4 company drivers. Think about, I had, for the most part, I had no problem with drivers. But then obviously we have those drivers, we have accidents. Things can happen, right? And because of that, I believe it's not that, hey, this dispatcher is good or bad, or driver's good or bad. I think we bring a lot on a table, meaning independent freight dispatchers, carriers, drivers. And because of us, meaning carriers, brokers, dispatchers, and drivers, because of that, the economy, specifically US economy, moves, right? And what I'm trying to say here is that, think about 80-20 principle. 80% of the time, dispatchers, I know many dispatchers, and by the way, I teach people how to become independent freight dispatcher, and I know I have hundreds of thousands of independent freight dispatchers, and I work with tens of hundreds of independent freight dispatchers, and I still do work with independent freight dispatchers all over the world. For the most part, they're really good at what they do. And most of them, they are entrepreneurs because they're independent freight dispatch. I had a conversation, maybe she's watching, she's an awesome human being. And we had a conversation and said, listen, don't confuse with freight dispatchers as independent freight dispatcher. We're not here just to teach how you can be a dispatcher and work for somebody. It's not employment opportunity. This is a business opportunity. And they are entrepreneurs. There are a lot of entrepreneurs out there. And we have this 20% of those people, and again, let's call it lack of skills, and they don't know what they do. And because of that, we create this hype. Coming back to this load, and this is why my drivers got pissed off. He's like, he went to the site he's picking up, and then he realized that, hey, TARP is required. There's a couple of tests he must take. There's X, Y, and Z. He must do it. But then this guy, as I said, the dispatcher, he's really good at booking loads like this. But then when it comes to communication, paying close attention to a document, which is really important. I will just pop up on a screen that so that you can see, and then we can talk about this. And again, if you have questions, please let me know. So the important document that I will share with you right now on your screen, and you will see that. And by the way, you will see how much they paid. You will see all the information. And by the way, there will be a broker information you can take and call them if you wanted to, if they're still in the business. I'm not in the trucking, meaning I'm not a carrier anymore, but you will have my information, then you will have my phone number. But if you call them, that number is not working because that was the carrier side of my business. Why is the problem? So let's come back and let's do this. Let me come back. Whoops. Let me share this screen so that you can see. Oops. Just bear with me. Let me come back and then share this screen with you. Whoop. There you go. Let's do this. And by the way, so if you guys have questions, please let me know. I'll just take this up here and then I'll share my screen. There you go. Okay. So let's do this. Take a look at this. Some people may get confused about just looking at it, and then you will see something like, what is it? It's a load tender agreement. Basically, this is the rate confirmation. And why am I showing this? Carriers, they know this. Independent freight dispatchers, truck dispatcher, whatever you call them, like in general, let's say we call them dispatchers. And we have drivers. They know this, but owner operators, specifically who work under somebody else's MC number, they don't see this information. The only thing they see is the load number, which is this one, and a pickup location, right? So then once dispatcher sends the pickup location and load number, then driver will go with this information on hand, go there, and then he will mention this load, and then obviously shipper will say, okay, this is the load. Okay, so we'll be loading it up, and then you're ready to go. Um, and you can go ahead and deliver. And then obviously he will have the information, meaning the delivery information. So this load we booked, gosh, let's see. I think it was, I don't know, I think it's a couple years ago. I don't know, about 3 years ago. So what happens, and this is where dispatchers miss the point, especially the good dispatchers out there, really good at finding loads, booking loads, and dispatching loads. They're really good at dispatching, but then this miscommunication and this hate happening just because of this special instructions. As you can see, it's everything's up here, right? And what happened with my driver? And he said, Kamal, I told you not to book the loads that require tarping. This guy, he was a really big guy, and he's like, man, listen, and it's a summer, and like, man, listen, it's tarping, it's huge, specifically flatbed slash step deck. It's labor intensive, and on top of that, we have this tarping. It requires tarp, but he didn't tell me that this load requires tarp. Think about this special instructions specifically for independent freight dispatchers. If you are really killing it with this, I'm pretty sure because you're getting the volume, you're missing these special instructions. Most of the brokers, they might be paying attention, but what I see, there are a lot of people missing this, and because of that, and this is why I call this is the root cause of that problem. Nothing wrong with dispatchers, nothing wrong with drivers. Because they're not following the special instructions that broker gave you, and you missed the point. Think about, let's read it, together. Sometimes if you are not only on the reefer market, they are appointments. In a flatbed or step deck, there are appointments as well. So if the broker has a special instruction and clearly says on the rate confirmation, your job as an independent freight dispatcher, you must read this, summarize, and then you just take the very, very important instruction and tell them. I'll go with you. There is a quiz. And by the way, if you're an independent freight dispatcher, make sure that if you're working with carriers, some drivers, they're not fluent when it comes to English, right? And I totally accept that. English is my third language. I'm okay with that. But what I'm saying is that might be a problem, because it clearly says that you must know English, right? You must take a quiz. So think about this one. Think about like just drivers must read, speak English fluently in order to take a short safety quiz. Basically, not taking this quiz, shipper basically says, hey broker, don't send me a driver if they don't understand it, because it's a part of the rule. It's not discriminating. We're not against anybody. But the thing is that we're just trying to follow an instructions. It's a government rule. We must, your driver must take a quiz. It's a part of the deal, right? Now, what will happen? You will look at the dollar amount and okay, I need to book this load, and then now I'm like, driver will go there and pick up, and then it will deliver. That's it. Awesome. I'll make money, and then driver will make money, meaning the carrier or the owner operator. But then think this, and you're not paying the special instruction. You're not paying close attention to instructions. Let's go step by step. Yeah, there you go. It's back in 2017. So for 10:14 a.m. So we'll resend the revise the rate confirmation. So detention will be added, right? Money added once the shipper completes in and out the time verification. See that? This should be completed today. This is very important. Otherwise, why this broker takes some time out of his busy schedule and tries to say something, because it's very important and he wants you to understand and he wants you to take it seriously. And hey, dispatcher, and tell your driver that, hey, this is very important, because drivers, they don't see rate confirmation. So if you are a driver, just tell me, do you see rate confirmation? 99% of the time, drivers out there, what they will see is a load number and then pickup location. That's all they have, right? So think about all drivers. We talked about this. Must either go in with or a smoke tarp and 50 foot of rope. See that it's one of the requirements. Think about a $30 fee will be added if there's no rope. Think about. So carriers must be notified, meaning broker, before 2 hours mark in the event of being detained. So we talked about this, and there's like things that you can't do it, right? So think about unstrapping, meaning carrier tries to unstrap or he does something on his trailer. Like, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed go on top of your, for example, flatbed, because this was a flatbed load. No overnight parking. That means you pick up a load and it's late, you're running out of a time, and you can't park there because it's a part of the deal. You have to move, right? So you can't do that. And if you do that, then obviously you have problems. And what will happen, shipper then cancels the freight, and driver get pissed off. Driver calls the dispatcher and says, hey man, listen, this, what happened. And dispatcher get back to driver, says, hey, listen, I already booked it and I think we're good to go. What happened? What did you do wrong? Or something like that. But then, dispatcher, you had this specific instruction. You must tell your driver. You are guiding your driver, right? So he relies on you. You have all the information. Why don't you share, right? So let me come back. So I do see your questions, guys. I will take your questions. Let me go real quick. This is very, very important, and I'll start taking your questions. Think about, so then, not allowed on site until 1 hour before appointment time. Think about, if you have this load and the scheduled time is 12, you can't be there 11 o'clock. Like, you can't be there 11 o'clock, right? It clearly says on the instruction. But then, let's go. Think about, like, if you can read this, I'm not going to go and read it for you, but think about, very important, 48 trailer minimum. Driver's trailer must be completely clear. See that? Before entering property, that means you need to wash your trailer, wash your truck, right? No damage, tarps, etc. If the driver attempts to jump onto the trailer and clear damage, that meaning on site, he will be rejected with no chance to load or receive a compensation. What he's trying to say is here, no compensation will be received. That means no detention, like load is already canceled, right? So no tunnel, truck order not used, nothing. You can't get anything because it clearly says, and this is a really important piece of document, which is rate confirmation. And because of that, and you didn't tell, for example, my dispatcher didn't tell my driver, and what happened? And he trying to do on his trailer, and then shipper very strict, and he says, load is canceled, leave. Driver get pissed off, and then now he calls my dispatcher, and dispatcher says, man, like, I'm dispatching loads, I'm really good at it, I have no problem, I work with drivers in the past. And this is where the miscommunication happening, guys. How, like, now you're problem aware, it's just because of this. So if you're a driver, you just ask when you get a load number and then you have the pickup location, you just ask your driver, say, hey, listen, what are the special instructions? You just remind him and saying, hey, or her, it doesn't matter, meaning your dispatcher, saying, listen, like, I'm doing my work, but are there any special instructions? Please take a look. Let me know. Can you screenshot it? Let me know. Right? So really, really good drivers, meaning experienced drivers, they will do that. They will ask anyway. If they know that you're a really good dispatcher, they will ask anyway. Okay, what are these instructions? Is it top required? Is strap required? Maybe chains. Maybe there's specific number of chains they require. Right? What about trailer? Should I wash the trailer? Like, what about the clothing? Hot hat? Should I wear boots, gloves? Just tell me, right? So, and independent freight dispatchers, or specifically just dispatchers in general, read this specific instruction. And obviously, it was a 2 to 3 page long, but this is very important. Maybe you're saying, Kamal, it's not enough money. Maybe I'm not going to take this load, but then listen, you're building a relationship, and I held a lot of loads for this broker, and we got paid a lot. We made a lot of money off of this broker. So this is how you build a relationship, right? So you're paying a close attention. So if you're not following these instructions, and and you mess up, and this is how your broker will mark you, saying, well, don't work with this carrier or something like that, right? So this is very important. And the quizzes are like very important. Some of the shippers, they will require to take a quiz, and because of that, you must be prepared. You just tell in advance. Miscommunication can happen instantly. It's just like small things can cause this. For example, just take this example. Driver knows English. He's native speaker. He knows ins and outs of everything, but then he just forgot to ask you, like, hey, are there any specific instructions? And he went to pick up location, and he trying to pick up a load, and then there is a load manager or somebody or supervisor says, hey, listen, you have to take a quiz. And because he wasn't informed, and now he pissed off. And now you're thinking, why is that? Why he was pissed off, right? So let me bring this so that we can talk, and then I'll start taking your questions, obviously. And why is that? It's maybe you're a dispatcher out there, you're saying, like, come on, it's just I forgot to tell him, but then his experienced driver, and well, I just told him that, or the shipper told him that, hey, you need to take a quiz, and just got pissed off. And he calls me, meaning driver calls the dispatcher, says, man, why didn't you tell me that there is a quiz? Man, if there's a quiz, dispatcher replies back to him. He says, well, if there's a quiz, you just take it. Well, I think in this case, driver, he's kind of right? So you need to inform, and maybe he's teaching you, saying, hey, listen, you're working closely with me. I want you to know that if there is something, you just notify. Well, I will take it anyway because I need to take the quiz so that I can take the load and go. But then I'm just reminding you. And because of that, now dispatcher's pissed off. And this communication between, like, miscommunication, I would say. And this is why we created this hype. Independent freight dispatchers, or dispatchers in general, they hate truck drivers, and truck drivers hate dispatchers. There are a lot of YouTube videos you can watch, and you do your research and just go to Google and see hype is there. But think about that. It's a small thing, but then it creates this massive miscommunication to the point that driver leaves the company. Well, I can handle this. And that's what happened to my driver. He was a really awesome guy. He was on time. He was sharp. But then I liked my dispatcher as well, because he was like all about quantity, getting loads, right? Just like this. But then what about communication? Because of this dispatcher, I lost one of my drivers. So since it's a live, guys, we're not preparing for these lives. It's just like straight. It's out of a mouth, not scripting, nothing. It's just casual. Right after work, we do this every Tuesday. Whatever questions you have, I'll do my best to help. So I do see a couple of questions. I will just take one by one. Hi, Kamal. Hi. Is there any way to connect with you? I got a few questions about dispatching, as I'm an independent dispatcher. Absolutely. You can contact me by emailing. There is an email. You can send me your email. I'll get back to you within a day. So there is a Facebook group. You can, and when I post the live, there are links below for the load boards, for the training, obviously, for the social media accounts, and this is the group. And by the way, this is specific. It's a closed group for people who are really interested in becoming a carrier, becoming a independent freight dispatcher. There are about 11,000 people now, meaning 11,000 members. And there are a lot of dispatchers. Majority of those people, they're carriers out there. So if you want to be part of that group, please join, and then this is how you connect with me. So I'll just put that, and then let me come back and take another question, and we'll go from there. So Kamal, can you please give a tip how to do cold calling script and best way to convince carriers or owner operator? Please take my question. Okay, so your question is up. Here is the deal. Cold calling it work for people who know nurturing. Nurturing is very, very important. Nurturing is when you do prospecting or lead gen, right? So you're generating leads. That means you have a list of carriers that you can send emails, communicate, so that you can call. Cold calling can go in like it can go too many directions, but when we say cold calling, this is what we mean. We get the lead somewhere. Maybe it's DAT directory. Maybe you got from somewhere. Now you have, I don't know, 10, 20, maybe hundreds of carriers, and you have the contact info, and you just pick up a phone and you start calling. When you start calling, obviously there's some tactics and strategies when it comes to cold calling. Cold calling is a term used if I'm a carrier and you somehow you got my number and I don't know you and you calling me, most likely that will reject. The probability of just me saying thank you or just hang up on you is high. It's about, let's say it's about 90%. Why? Because I don't know you. It's a frame of mind thinking that this is a scam. That's it. Go away. See that. It obviously it's a problem. Maybe you're legit and you have a really awesome business and really awesome services that you can offer to your carriers. But then this is, what's happening, right? And what you need to do is first you need to nurture them. You can call them, but then they must know a little bit something about you so that you can call. Think about maybe you have a Facebook group and then carriers right there, and then you start, I don't know, you collected somehow their information, and then now you're calling, they know you. But some people might say, Kamal, now they're not cold leads, they're like kind of warm leads or something like that. And then we go more into hot leads. And by the way, I did a video on this, meaning the stage of the leads. But think about script is very important. Script is very important. And for our students, we do have the ultimate conversion script. We developed this for our students, and most of our students, they have success with it. But obviously, we're not selling the ultimate conversion script separately, but you can create one for you. But then your question might be, well, how I create this is, yes, there is a framework for this, but then you can create, if you don't have a framework or the workflow and you don't know what to say, you just create one script. You can do your online, I don't know, research, and then you just create one, start using it, and then create another one, and then A/B split test. Then you just test them against each other and see which one performs well. And I highly recommend recording your calls so that you can track your numbers, see how many calls you did, when people just dropped the call, what did you say? Did you say, hey, hello, my name is X, Y, and Z, and then you start a conversation that way? And since you asked for a tip, I'll give you a tip. And this is when we started doing cold calling and we failed it miserably, and people just like saying all kinds of words and then rejecting us. But then I was a part of the mastermind, and I learned this tactic, sales tactic, is that I'll share with you free of charge. And again, by the way, guys, so in exchange this value, please make sure to subscribe, like this video, and turn on the bell notification. Why? When I post videos like this, obviously you will get notified. And thank you for that. So thank you for your support. The tip is this. When you do cold calling, when you're calling carriers, show the interest in their services. Show the interest in their services. Don't start pitching your services. So think about, if I met, let's say in a marketing event, I met you. You are an independent freight dispatcher. I'm a carrier. I don't know you. You don't know me. We met, and then that is the marketing event is specifically for trucking companies, for example, for carriers. And then you approach me and said, well, you are a carrier. You see on my badge, it says, carrier. And you're like, well, look, how many carriers, how many trucks do you have? Like, which market you serve? Oh, awesome. So this is how you show your interest. And along the way, obviously, the carriers start asking questions back and saying, like, what you do. Like, see, that is a one way of approaching carriers. When you start something like the conversation, something like, hey, this is Kamal. I'm an independent freight dispatcher. I'm located in Atlanta, Georgia, and this is what I do. I'm awesome. I have this awesome services, and I want to serve you. Thank you. No. Probability of carriers saying that no is high. When we were like, we also have import-export businesses. This is how we meet a lot of shippers. When we were interested in hauling lumber, specifically plywood, and what we would do is, when we started calling them, we were interested in the plywood itself. For example, you show them the interest. Are you guys selling plywood? Yes. Dimensions. You obviously do your research and show interest. And so, okay, you guys deliver to where? Like, hey, we do deliver this locally. We deliver nationwide. We have customers all across the country. And then this is how we approach things. Oh, wow, okay. So I'm a carrier, and I think, we can connect. That is one tip. It's a very quick tip that I can give it to you. And obviously, scripting is very important. And why? You're not jumping from one point to another point. It's just like, it takes a lot of brain power to comprehend what you're trying to do, why. We're human beings, right? The human instinct. So I hope this helps. Let me see, cold calling. There you go. Let's take this. Will these instructions will be available before you book a load for after taking the load? This is when you receive the rate confirmation. When you find a load is good, and you know that you can take this load. This is awesome. Your driver will be happy, or your carrier will be happy, or your owner operator will be happy. You book this load by calling broker, negotiating, and then you book a load, and then he sends you so that you can sign. Right? So you booked a load, but it's not giving it to you, but it's just like you reserving it. It's in the process, but you didn't sign yet. You need to sign and then send it back to him. When you receive the rate confirmation and you just scanning the rate confirmation, 99% of the time, you will see there's a note or a specific instructions. Pay close attention to that. So, awesome question. Let's see. Are you going to save this stream? Yes, I will. What about this one? Umar says, if I'm not mistaken, okay, how to convince driver for working with us, and what is the best percentage? Awesome. So drivers, meaning, let's come back and talk about this, meaning driver, owner, operator. Owner operator is a person who owns a truck and trailer, and basically he drives himself or herself. It doesn't matter. The person owns the truck and trailer, owner operator. When I'm owner operator and I drive my truck, I'm a driver as well. So people will say, yeah, you are a driver. You're driving. But then driver also an employee for a carrier. Think about me. I have this truck and trailer. Now I bought my second truck and trailer. Now I'm a carrier. Maybe I'm driving my truck still, but then one of my brothers, cousins, they're driving my second truck. Now, he or she, employee, but then the title is driver, right? So when you say driver, so just make sure that you mean owner operator who owns the truck and trailer and drives. That is a driver, right? So Working with the driver, obviously, is straightforward. Marketing is everything. If like this is so cool. It is like you can be number one world class independent freight dispatcher in the world. You're awesome, but if nobody knows about you, who cares? Marketing. And this is how we approach carriers. Obviously, how you can convince, and I just give the information. You can rewatch if you wanted to. Then best percentage, it all depends. I get this question a lot. What's percentage? How much should I charge? It depends on the market. It depends on your experience. It depends who you serve, right? So you do your research, and obviously that's the way to go. So if you know how to dispatch, marketing is number one thing. So people must know that you have services. Let's see. Hello, I'm having a hard time booking a load after a load to keep a driver busy. What should I be doing? I'm having a hard time booking a load after a load to keep driver busy. Well, that's a great question. You'll be obviously building the lane then, obviously, right? This is very important. So we just found the lane that really works for us. It's Atlanta, from Atlanta or Southeast area, and then we go to Texas area, and sometimes we go to Arizona. 90% of the time we'll go to Oklahoma. Those are the states, right? So we build a lane. We build a really good relationship. When I say build a lane, I mean we build a relationship with brokers. Now we know a lot of brokers in this specific lane, and because of that, we get a lot of loads. Not because of the load board, because we know a lot of brokers. Now we get a lot of loads before the loads even being posted on a load board. We'll get those load boards. So I will take. Well, and again, coming back to what should I be doing is like you should work on creating lanes. That is that. And again, let me see. So are you Indian? I'm not Indian. So do I look like Indian? Okay, awesome questions, guys. Well, thank you so much. And